Cool. All right, SML, it's been a hot second. We played some seasons. We played most of a third. We blipped. We drafted again. And here we are 18 games later. It's heat check time. That means it's SML playoffs. Bomber, what's going on?
Oh, ready to finally get to the playoffs. It feels like it's been forever since we've
Ooh,
done
it sure
a playoffs,
does.
and then a
Feels like
heat
it's
check
been.
even longer because I think we didn't do one season two. Didn't know it was going to be 2.5 years till the next one.
Yeah, it's been forever. It feels like it has been literally months since we've had SML playoffs.
Yeah, good to get back to it. And with that, let's just jump right into it.
Let's
Uh,
do it.
all right, so we're gonna like we just talked about same conference this time. So I'll take the AFC, you take the NFC,
Okay.
and we'll start with the 2-7 game up in the AFC. We got Dan versus Dump. I think Dan's going to take this one, not just because I think he's the better player, but Dump with the sketchy internet at best.
Yeah,
I'm not
at
even sure this
best.
one's going to get played because I don't even know how you go to Alabama. You can't play in the hotel. Where do you think you're going to randomly find internet? I'm not sure what he's going to do, but I could definitely
He's
see
gonna be
this one.
pulled over in a McDonald's playing his game.
Yeah, I just don't know where you go. Like he's driving around looking for 5G so his hotspot works. I don't know if he's powering his PlayStation and his TV off an inverter, and then his car is gonna run out of gas or something. I'm not sure what we're doing here. I'm assuming it's gonna be a force win, but if they do play, Dump's playing really well. But he's kind of a one trick pony. If you can stop JT, which is obviously easier said than done, I
Mhm.
think you can beat him. And Dan, obviously one of the more prepared guys in the SML, is going to come in more than ready to stop that, and he's got the team to do it. So I got Dan moving on.
Yeah, don't blame me for that one. This is a tough uphill battle for Dump. It's an exciting first round matchup. I think just the names alone make it kind of
Yeah,
fun, but I think the circumstances around the game, you're right. I'll be shocked if Dan doesn't take that one.
yeah, and I mean definitely hoping for good internet because, like you said, the names. Dan Dump was a pretty big rivalry when they were both in the
Hmm.
NFC. So
Yeah,
there was a lot of shit talking. Even when they weren't in the same conference, Dump
yeah.
still went after him. So I'd be excited to see that. Next up, we got the Jaguars against the Dolphins. Matt against Bean. Bean can't seem to get out of the first round, and unfortunately for him, I don't think he gets out of the first round here either.
Oof.
He's had some bad losses. He's not coming into the playoffs hot like you would want to. Like basically the exact opposite of Dump. He's coming in kind of just backing his way in. You've got what has he got? Clink, who's the Texans in that division. Fig is the Titans, and then
Yeah.
Dump is the Colts, who made a late push, just wasn't able to get there. Would have thought this would be easy for Bean to get in. I think his early success is what got him in because lately he hasn't been playing well, and Matt is not too long off of a win over Prime. I think Matt's going to end up stopping him, and the defense is going to be the difference. And I think we're going to see a low-scoring game, but a win by the Dolphins.
Yeah, two back-to-back losses to DW and Clink, two guys in contention for the
Yeah,
number one overall pick is is a tough break as you're gearing up for playoffs. It's been a mostly good season otherwise for Bean. I want to see him win just because he's locked into not playing prime in round
yeah.
two. So if he gets past Matt, I mean, anything can happen here. Um, it's going to be tough. These guys are both down in the dumps on themselves. They're both convinced that they're absolutely terrible players. I think they copied each other's tweets, saying how lucky they are just to be in the game. So uh, it'll be an interesting one. I won't be surprised to see it go either way. Um, I think it's tough not to pick the guy with the Simbardi this cycle. So
Yeah, and I think a Matt probably has enough Prime in him, uh, at least on the backside, that he's going to be able to go ahead and use that to propel himself past Bean.
sharing some DNA there.
That's right. He's got just enough of the fluids, the prime fluids. And then that leaves our last game, 4 versus 5, Browns versus Broncos. I think this is a money blowout. I think that AFC North is absolutely terrible. Um, you've got really good teams in the AFC North, just not really good players. But this is an opportunity for Noel to really kind of bring himself back. He always hates it when people forget about his uh his playoff runs with the Buccaneers, which feel like millennia ago.
I
Um,
wasn't even here for it.
yeah, I mean, and that's like 3 full cycles ago. So it'd be interesting to see if he can pull off maybe a win against Monty here, and then he could end up facing Matt or Dump, or not Dump, but Matt or Bean, depending how everything shakes out.
Mhm.
I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Monty's going to come in. He's going to run Javonte Williams like we've seen him do all year. I think he led the league in carries. And now he's got, his superstar abilities and I think maybe even an X factor. I just think it's going to be too much for Nolan. I think Monty moves on.
Yeah, his X factor stinks, but his abilities are very good. Bulldozer and armbar. He has the two Chubb abilities. So you've got Chubb against Chubb. Um, like you said, I don't see how this one kind of isn't a blowout. This kind of feels like just a kind of a cakewalk for this Broncos team. He's got a couple weird losses in the season.
He does.
He lost to Woods, lost to Field, lost to Two Step / EA, depending on who you talk to.
That's right.
So you never really know with Monty. The door is open, but I think it would be very surprising to see him lose this one.
Yeah, I think with him sometimes the regular season kind of he's not very focused, but I would expect him to kind of lock in for the playoffs. He wants to win playoff games and he wants to get to that Simbardi, and I think this is his opportunity. All right, so that leaves, let's see, we had 2 win, 6 win, and 5 win. That means 6 against 1. We get Matt Prime in round 2. And then,
boy, must-watch TV right there.
Yeah, that one would be a good one because Prime clearly has issues with beating Matt. I think this time he doesn't, though. I think that Chargers team is going to be just too good. I don't know. I think this is probably going to be his best chance to win too, because that Chargers team, you're going to lose Keenan Allen, you're going to lose Austin Eckler. I think
Matt gets another year older.
Yeah, and I think this is absolutely the worst case scenario for Prime was to get his first playoff game is going to be against Matt, the one guy that beat him all season. But I think he's gonna pull away this one and he'll win in the divisional round.
Yeah, that's a heck of a storyline. Absolutely the nightmare scenario for Prime. He would want, literally anybody else.
Yeah.
Matt, I think, just honestly has the hard counter for the style. It's funny because he's just not aggressive enough, it seems like, to beat me and Dan. But his style just works perfectly against Prime, and it's really giving him issues. Prime's thinking about it. Prime's thinking about it.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's in Matt, as much as we like to make fun of him for laying down. You heard the call. Give me my ball. Let's go.
Oh yeah, he wants to win that.
He wants it. Yeah, he wants it. So I don't know if they play each other. Honestly, I might take Matt.
It would be. I think it'll be a tough call. I think.
Yeah.
Like I said, just the team and the fact that Matt won the last one, trying to sweep him.
Yep.
I would go with Prime, give him the advantage there. But then that leaves Monty and Dan, and that's another kind of big storyline. We're talking about just last season, which feels like forever ago. Monty was one kneel down away from going to the Super Bowl, but he decided to run it, and Jadeveon Clowney
be still my
injury.
soul.
Just an absolute heartbreaker loss there.
Just pop the shoulder out real quick.
Yeah.
Oh man, guys, I can't go on. Stop the clock for me.
Yep. So you're talking about two really big games there. I think this time, I'm going to say that last time Dan probably took Monty a little bit for granted. He thought it's Monty. It's not a guy that's won a Super Bowl before. It's not somebody I have to worry too much about. And he started focusing on the next game. I don't think he does that this time. And I think he ends up running away with this one by at least 10 points. Monty, I've seen him have some struggles in the playoffs. He's going to come off a game against Noel where he's probably going to have not too much of a test. And then Dan's going to be the exact opposite. And I think it's going to be a 10-point game. Dan runs away with it.
Yeah, this kind of feels like the season that we get the game we expected last time. If Monty can come out and get a break early, Dan has been shaky with Josh Allen. Monty plays an extremely aggressive defense. So, if he can come out and get a takeaway early, maybe Dan starts thinking, but I think Dan's going to be locked in and ready for this one. Like you said, there's no way he's taking him lightly this time. So
no, and this is the playoffs. So I expect a lot of Cook as opposed to Josh Allen.
Yes.
He already knows from the regular season what he can and can't get away with. And I don't think he kind of pushes the envelope once we get into the playoffs, especially against the guy that he needed a Jadeveon Clowney freak injury to get to the Super Bowl. And
I'm sure.
And that sets us up.
I'm sure Dan's trying to go get Clowney anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Just in case.
He's probably hitting up Noel right now.
Yeah. So, hey, what are you doing with him after that game?
Yeah, as soon as Monty beats you, you get back at him by releasing him so I can sign him. But that sets up what everybody expected going into this season was Dan Prime, 1 versus 2, Bills, Chargers, AFC Championship. This one a little tougher. We've seen Prime struggle. He hasn't blown guys out when he's got the Chargers, but unfortunately we've seen Dan do the same thing. So neither guy really kind of blown away the competition. I'm gonna say Prime though is gonna pull this one off, and he's gonna make it to the Super Bowl. I just don't think Dan is comfortable enough with that Bills team. Maybe neither guy is that comfortable, and the teams don't necessarily fit their play style. But I think Prime's gonna come in and he's gonna beat Dan. At least the first one. Dan's one of those guys that takes maybe a season or two to catch up and figure out what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. This is, I think, the matchup everybody wants to see in the AFC. Prime versus Dan. They've been jawing at each other a lot. Guy on the left versus guy on the right. Should be a lot of fun. There's been words. Prime is no stranger to talking to Dan, and Dan started to chirp back a little bit. Usually ends poorly for him when he does that. But I don't know. I want to see Prime kind of get over this hump and get back into the Super Bowl. So I'm kind of going to issue the challenge. I'm going to give him a little bulletin board material. I'm going to pick Dan.
All right. So now we're moving on to the NFC. These are where your picks are going to be the ones that move on. Mm-hmm. And the first one is the Buccaneers and the Commanders. I think that's 9:30. You're on the call. I don't know if it ever got ironed out who you're on there with, but
we have a couple options. I believe Woods just volunteered a second ago. Matt said he could. Mike said he could. So we will have somebody on the call.
All right. So we got somebody on the call. How's it going to go?
How's it gonna go? I just don't see any way that Doink is scoring on QP. I know that Q is coming in maybe a little slower than you might want. He just lost to two division mates, Meats and QB, but then he went out and blew the doors off of Mike. So he's kind of got himself right in week 18 here. And Doink, he's got that scary defensive line. They can make plays for him, but unfortunately, when it comes to him controlling players, it's not going that great this cycle.
Yeah.
So I just think you have to go with QP here.
Yeah, I think QP is the obvious choice. I think there's always the potential for the upset we've seen the last two with Meats and QB. But I think a lot of that could be kind of attributed to he hasn't really had too much trouble going through the regular season. You start looking forward to the postseason, and maybe he just kind of took those guys for granted. Meats coming in with barely making the playoffs. He was 500 at one point. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he necessarily took him as seriously as he maybe should have, and obviously it worked out in Meats' favor. And then QB, obviously QB's a guy that can surprise you and have a good game every once in a while. He's not exactly a stranger to the playoffs. So the fact that you play him twice a season, that doesn't really bother me as far as QP losing that game, knocking him down any. So I think he easily comes away with this one. Doink just not on the level of QP, and then having Sam Howell as his quarterback is going to be a huge difference. He can't do the things that Doink likes to do with the passing game.
No, he certainly doesn't. It usually just ends up turning into prayers for McLaurin, and Q is going to be able to lock that up. So, I'm not too concerned. Maybe if Doink's defensive line goes absolutely crazy, maybe something wild happens, but I would be shocked. Takes us to 3 versus 6. This is your game. You're coming in as the 3 seed, playing against Meats as the 6. Meats is hot right now. Like I said, just came off the win against Q. He actually just beat QB, so he's back to back beating the Qs. Beat QP in week 17, QB in week 18. So this is a hot Panthers team. The offense has been good. The defense has been terrible, and I think that's what's going to do him in here. And it's one thing in particular I brought up in SML Live. It's the Derek Brown trade.
Yep.
To get you out of your game, you have to be able to stop the run. Miles Sanders has been a freak, led the league in rushing, almost 2,000 yards.
I just want to point out that he would have had 2,000 and been over 8 yards per carry if I didn't get 2 forced wins at the end of the season. So,
oof.
Just want to put that out there.
So should have had 2,000 yards on the season. If you can't stop the run, you can't stop you, and I don't think Meats can stop the run.
Yeah, I was gonna say I guarantee a 2-score win this game.
I love that.
Yeah, I did it last. What was the last heat check we did? With
I believe you did it the last
cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, the last season of last cycle. You did it.
So I'm gonna do it again, reincarnate that one, and I'm gonna guarantee a 2-score win against Meats tonight, 6:30. I think it
I
just
like
like
it.
you said though, it's going to be that run game. That
Yeah.
Derek Brown trade was awful. I don't know in what universe you give up Derek Brown for. I think he got Woods' first round pick.
Yep.
So I mean, you're talking about pick like 20. Why are you giving up pick 20 for Derek
Yeah,
Brown?
it felt like he made the trade thinking that that Woods was going to be bad.
Yeah,
But Woods is the Chiefs, and it not a very good division. So he finishes 10-7, just outside the cut for playoffs. He gave the Kansas City Chiefs an interior defensive line of Chris Jones and Derek Brown,
yep.
and thought he was going to be bad. So
Especially season 1. Season 2,
yeah,
after 2 steps, screws up and drafts some rookie quarterback, and he tanks all the way to the bottom. Monty gets better. I think. I think after this season, he'll improve as he builds the team how he wants. I think your future pick with the Chiefs would have been better than this year.
yeah.
And I think that really cost him, and I think it will for the rest of the cycle unless he can find a way to replace, an 85 overall big time stud in the middle.
Yeah, and the problem is those guys, the way that the EA drafts work, they just don't like generate those type of players. They don't
Yep.
generate the Derek Browns and the Dexter Lawrences. So, he's just not an easy one to fill. I don't understand it, and I think we're gonna really see that come to the forefront tonight.
Yeah.
I'm just expecting Miles Sanders to go crazy, and you're only gonna have to pass very minimally to keep the chains moving, and you're gonna move on in that one.
Yep. And especially the way the abilities are.
Yeah.
I've noticed you want to hold on to those high 80s guys that are going to go superstar because they're the ones that are going to get the good abilities. Anybody you
Mhm.
draft at defensive tackle, get ready for recuperation and
Yep.
unfakeable, and
Yep.
because that's all they're going to get, and you're not getting them to 90.
Yeah.
Not between now and the next 5 seasons. So
Yep. Totally agree on that. So
yeah, I
we
think that's
are.
going to be a costly one.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt, and he's gonna not be thrilled about that. Takes us to 4 versus 5. Very interesting matchup here. D-Muse and QB. Dom and the Cardinals at the 4 seed, obviously, and then QB is the first wild card at 12-5. These two played already this season. I believe D-Muse won that game. I'm just loading up the schedule now, very slowly. Super
If it's
slowly.
neon, it's not quick.
Yeah, okay, yeah, 27-24. Dom with the win in that game. And he did tell me that he wanted me to point out that that was actually the force win score.
Okay.
Because he dominated that game. I think he said he had 5 picks, I think 2 users with Tremaine Edmonds. And then I think they did it again, got another pick, and then it blipped again. So yeah, so I'm reading it here, up 27-3. Tremaine Edmonds had 2 user ints, and then it blipped, started over, got another pick, and then eventually the force win gave him the 3 points. So it sounds like that was not even that close of a game. Dom, a very good player, always plays his best in playoffs. He's just one of those guys who plays up in these bigger games. QB, I've noticed, kind of has the opposite. He doesn't really play up in playoff games. Usually gets a little rattled. We see him in main chat, and I just don't see that working out in his favor. Dom's a guy who keeps his composure. He plays just a very simple style. Keeps the chains moving, holds the ball a lot, plays solid defense. I think the Cardinals move on.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be an ugly game. Both guys seem to just kind of throw a lot of interceptions lately. Dom really uncharacteristic. QB, maybe it's just the games I play against him, but he looks pretty bad.
Yeah, you sure have the blueprint against him.
I don't
think
know
every
what
time
I don't even know what it
every
is.
time you play, it's 7 picks, it's 49 points.
Yeah, but I think Dom's gonna pull it out. He tends to get in the playoffs a little more conservative. You see the high percentage throws come out, and he doesn't really turn the ball over as much. So I think he's gonna pull this one out.
Yeah, and I think the other really key part of this game is the quarterback matchup of Kyler Murray versus Jameis Winston. One of those guys is going to make the mistakes, and the other one likely is not.
Yeah.
And I think D-Muse is the guy that has the better quarterback in that. And in a playoff game, especially one against Dom, every possession matters. If Jameis Winston's going to overthrow a pass for a first down, or if he's going to, under pressure directly to the safety, that's going to be a killer, and can really kind of turn the tides in that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's gonna bring up you versus Dom, 1 versus 4,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna assume I know who you've got in that one.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I don't love Dom as a first matchup. Kind of feels like Prime, where it's not a great style matchup for me. Um, but I mean, this Packers team is they're so good. I knew that I was going to be looking at a couple seasons with Jacksonville before I really had them in a spot that I wanted them.
Mhm.
I nixed all that with Green Bay. This team's crazy. Kenny Clark is nuts, as we were just talking about in Maine. I have two receivers in the top five. Rodgers is just straight up broken. Um, if I lose, it will be a it will be a real bummer. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think this Packers team is actually perfect for you.
Yeah.
Um, even once Rodgers leaves, I'm sure you figure out the quarterback position. But if there's been a knock on you, it's been that you can be scored on. This is one of the best defenses in the game, so that kind of, especially with Kenny
Yeah.
Clark, kind of evens that out and makes it where the defense isn't even a weakness anymore. Um,
Hmm.
and then Aaron Rodgers, I mean, it's almost not fair. So I don't think D-Muse is going to have much of a chance in this game, but I don't know if many people in the NFC would. So I definitely see you moving on.
Yeah, he has the style for it. He can, hold on to the ball, and if he's churning out first downs, keeping me off the field, that's certainly going to be the best way to do it. I just don't know that the Cardinals are built for that yet. I
No.
just don't like with QP. At least the Bucks stack up in the trenches. The Eagles stack up in the trenches to where something like that can happen. The Cardinals don't stack up in the trenches. They don't have an offensive line that can contain this defensive line. They don't have a defensive line that can get pressure. Um, so I think Dom is just at too much of a disadvantage team wise. I think that's really gonna
Yeah, I
hurt
mean,
him in
and
this
his
one.
his biggest asset is Kyler Murray's legs, and we've seen that
Yeah,
that's basically taken out of this year's game. So
yeah,
that's not going to help you.
yep. No real running back to worry about there, and you need
No.
one of those if you're gonna go against Clark and Devontae Wyatt. So
No. All right, so then that brings me against QP.
yeah, you against QP. It's really two great teams. I mean, the three of us all took just nasty teams here: Green Bay, Tampa, and Philly. Um, so I don't think it's any surprise to see these kind of matchups. I think we're going to get the NFC game that everybody kind of expected. Um, I think
Eagles
QP takes this
Packers. All
one.
right. Oh,
Eagles
never-
Packers. There you go. Um, yeah, unfortunately I will be picking against you on this one.
yeah, I figured that.
As we talked about how Meats is going to have a tough time stopping the run. Um, the Bucks should not have a tough time stopping the run. You got Vea up the middle. Shaq Barrett's crazy. Levante David, Devin White. QP is a very good run user. Um, they were first in the NFL for rush yards given up on the season, third in points against, third in pass. So I mean, this is a great defense, and I just don't think you're ready for it with Jalen Hurts, and gonna have to probably throw the ball to win this one, and that has not been a great thing so far for you this cycle.
It definitely hasn't. But I have had QP's number. I think we split or I
True.
won one extra game last cycle, and
Hmm.
this cycle already 1-0. Blew him out on SML Live. That one got ugly. He was
Yes,
the
you did.
he was the Cardinals,
Wait.
and I was the Jets.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. You're right. You're right. Yep.
Yep. SML Live.
Man, it has been a long
Yeah.
time. I almost forgot that you
I
had a
almost
Jets
forgot
team.
what team he was. So the play style wise, I think I can keep up with him and play well,
Hmm.
but again, it's going to be that quarterback position. Tom Brady just
Yeah.
if the guy's open, he hits the button and it's immediately there. It's not like some of these guys have to wind up and then the ball kind of floats there. You got some of these quarterbacks, Herbert, Allen, Rodgers, and um, Brady, and then I
Yep.
Burrow, but he's not in the playoffs here. But those
Tough
guys open, press the button, the ball's there. That's
Yeah.
tough to defend, and I think it is going to be too much this season. If QP has a lesser quarterback, I think I have a better chance. But with Brady, it's going to be really tough.
Yeah, the abilities in general this cycle are very toned down. I really can't think of too many off my head that I'm like, wow, that's an ability that
Yeah.
like you really want. But set feet lead, elite, pass lead, elite. I generally don't even know
The
the name of
quarterback
it. It's
elite,
really long.
whatever those
Yeah,
are.
the elite quarterback ability is the one that you want because man, these guys, even when you have a guy there, they can complete the pass anyway, and it just doesn't matter. I've thrown so many passes with Rodgers that it's like, this guy's only like sort of kind of partially ish open, and Rodgers makes it look like it was the easiest throw in the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Brady obviously has the same exact thing, and then he also has the two, superstar receivers in Evans and Godwin. So even if the ball is not
Yeah.
completely perfect, Evans is going to go up and get it anyway. Very difficult to defend, and I just think it's going to be a little too much.
Yeah, I do too. I'm looking forward to when Rodgers and Brady finally move on. But I will say we just moved into the off season in Primer, and Brady's on or not Brady. Rodgers is on season 4. So
Oh, bless my soul.
it may
that
not
would
happen
be...
anytime soon. But that
Boy,
sets
if
up.
that happens,
Oh yeah,
I'm
that
going to be a
sets up
happy
the
man.
NFC Championship that I think again everybody kind of predicted before the season started, and it's you versus QP.
Yeah, I think in general, with us taking the teams we did, it would be a huge disappointment if we didn't get here season 1. After that, it depends on the quarterbacks. But as long as we have the quarterbacks, I think people expect us to be in this spot, as do we both. I'll pick myself. I'm loving the way I'm playing with Rodgers right now. I'm loving the way I have this defense rolling. I've learned a lot since we played the first time this season. I think it was in week 3.
Mm-hmm.
Started to really get a feel on the defense and how I like to play with these guys. So I think I'm ready for him this time.
Yeah, I think just the fact that you got or he got the first one, I think again, just like talked about earlier, it's tough to sweep, and I think you're going to end up pulling this one out. It's going to be a good one though with just the quarterbacks. Yeah. I like your secondary a little better than his, and both guys being kind of pass heavy. I think that gives you the advantage, and I think it's going to be a Packers and Chargers Super Bowl.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun. That game's going to come down to whoever makes the mistake. Me and QP. We're both obviously very aggressive. We have the tendency to take some shots when maybe we don't necessarily need to. If one of us takes one more of those than the other, that could be the deciding factor.
Yep. All right, so Prime versus you in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to take you. He just hasn't had really too many tests this season. The one he did was against Matt, and it went horribly. So I think there's something to that where when you don't play really tough competition, you get into this lull where you don't have to play your best, and maybe I know Prime says iron sharpens iron. I mean, I don't think he needed sharpened too much more, but it's just I don't know. You just don't get a good feel for the game and what the better players are maybe doing, and then when you get matched up against one like you did with Matt, they just kind of smack you in the face, and then you don't really get the opportunity to get better because you're playing guys like two-step twice a year. I think it just makes it tougher.
Yeah, there's definitely something to it. I know it just from my first cycle, Madden 21, playing in that NFC North. Boy, that division was bad. I was going 15-1 every season, 14-2 every season, without much of a sweat. And you'd get to the playoffs, and it's like, man, I haven't had any tune-up games. The last time I played anybody even in playoff contention was in week 8. So there's definitely something to it. You get into those games, and you're just maybe a little more tight. You're not totally ready to go. I've been happy that my schedule's been a little tougher. It has not been extremely difficult, but I had you, I had Dan, I had Q, and I had Matt. So, that's 4 games that kind of get you playoff ready and tune you up. I think that's going to help me out, and I think maybe it puts me over the edge. I'm taking myself to win this one.
All right. So with that, I don't know if you want to do our folding chairs that we have for me.
We want to do the folding chairs.
So wherever you want to start. This is your segment, so wherever you want to start.
All right, we'll start with the 7 seeds, and okay. We'll stick with it. I'll stick with the NFC, so I'll go with Doink. I don't think it's very high. He gets a little bit of extra bonus than the normal 7 seed just because he's him. Prime loves, kind of driving the point home. He's got the nickname, but realistically, I don't think anybody's expecting too much against Q tonight. So I'll go with the 4 folding chairs.
Okay, I think it's even lower. I think at this
realistically
point,
it is.
Yeah, I think at this point Doink is what he is. Everybody knows he's going to collapse. And I think he's just got to be kind of okay with it. We've seen, hell, he took a timeout in a game that he should have won, All you had to do was not press anything. Put the controller down, and you win the game. All you had to do.
That was so bad.
So you can't say that have any slight bit of clutch gene anywhere in you when all you had to do was not be involved and you win the game. And you lost that one.
Just do nothing. Just do absolutely nothing.
Twice to me, he threw an interception inside the 5-yard line on opportunities to win the game. We've seen him doink kicks. He's just the opposite of clutch. Whatever that is, where when you're involved in the game is on the line, it's going to lose just because you were there. You didn't even have to do anything, which we saw in the tiny game. So I think there's no pressure on him because at this point he should just expect to lose.
Well, yeah, that's fair. I think he puts it on himself to have the pressure to get rid of that, and I don't think it's helping.
Not at all. No.
Yeah, it's definitely not helping. You're right.
All right, so the other 7 seed would be Dump.
Yeah, Dump is he's a 0. We're just hoping he can get on the field tonight.
Yeah, I don't think there's any pressure there. This is his first time back in the playoffs, and as long as I can remember, it's been a while, and now he has no internet, so I don't.
That game might be looking like Tecmo Bowl. He's just going to be happy to be participating, I think.
All right, so then we have the 6 seeds. The 6 seed in the AFC is Matt.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have for Matt?
He's funny because if he puts pressure on himself, he certainly doesn't let us know that. I'll put him like pretty squarely in the middle. He has a Simbardi, so like he's accomplished everything he could want to accomplish this cycle. But he has a good Dolphins team. He has the number of the best guy in his conference. Realistically, there's no reason why he shouldn't be back for another one. So I will go with 5 for now, and I think it'll go up as the cycle goes on a little bit more. He's gonna yell at me for this and tell me how his pressure's a -41. But I'm gonna go with 5. I think the rest of the league expects him to be back.
I'm gonna agree with you, and I don't think he can say that there's no pressure or he's not feeling any pressure. You don't explode like that on an interception if you're not feeling something. Like you're not just out there, I'm just pressing X, throwing it up for fun. This is just happy-go-lucky. Now you definitely felt some pressure and we're happy to get it. So there's definitely some pressure there.
Yeah.
So the 6 on the other side would be Meats, and Meats the one who this is named for.
Yeah. Yep. The namesake of the scale as a whole, which take that as what you will, as whether that's a good or a bad thing. I'm gonna bump him 1 up and put him at a 6. We know that he can beat you because we've seen him do it in the playoffs before. He's coming in hot. He's got 2 big wins to finish off the season. He really likes telling us about his accolades and tweeting about them and such. I'm gonna give him a 6 for now.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think a first-round exit for Meats is always tough. Even if he comes in as the 7 seed, sneaks in with a 7-9 record or whatever it is now, 8-9, I think he would still have 10 for the folding chairs just because of that's who it's named after. He's doing anything he can to get out from under that. We've seen it on every show he's been on for a week. He immediately goes ahead and tries to put it off on someone else. So the pressure's there.
Yep.
Next up,
he really wants to shed it.
Yeah,
honestly, he's probably the biggest fan of Doink in the entire league.
Easily. All right, so Monty at 5.
Monty at 5. This is another curious case. I'm gonna bring him a tad lower than Meats, like a hair lower. I'm gonna go 5.5. We've seen him have some playoff success. I don't think we expect it routinely yet, and especially with Russell Wilson. He's kind of one-dimensional right now. He doesn't have a defense. I don't think there's a ton of pressure to win just yet in the AFC, but we have seen that he's capable of it. So I'll go 5.5 here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think it's mostly self-imposed. I don't think too many people expect him to be a consistent winner.
He does like chirping.
He does. So that kind of, as soon as you do that, you put a little bit of folding chairs in your back pocket, and he's got some. But yeah, I'll agree with that. So next up we have QB, and I can't tell whether he thinks he's good or he thinks he's bad. He kind of waffles back and forth. Where do you think he stands?
Yeah, he generally stands on whichever side of the stance you don't stand on.
Yeah.
So if you say he's bad, he likes to tell you he's good. If you say that he's good, he tells you he's a free win.
Yeah.
So it's tough to figure that one out. I think the pressure for him's pretty high. We've heard people talk about, he's back, he's back, he's back. We haven't seen him really do it against competition yet. We've seen the meltdowns. He can't get past you.
Yeah.
Um, so I think I'll put him at a 7. We saw him beat QP once this season. We saw him beat Prime in the playoffs
Yeah, that was a
last
big
time we
win.
had a playoff. So that was a big win. So we know it's there. Um, so I'll go 7 because I think he expects more out of himself than he leads on.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's just dying to be back in that conversation for
Yeah.
Zimbardi's. Um, whether he wants to admit it or not, that doesn't really matter to me. I think
Hmm.
it's definitely there. You can hear it in its tone.
Yep.
Um, so next up is Noel. Noel coming in the 4 seed. Um, I personally think Noel's probably put a lot of pressure on himself because he
Hmm.
does, like we talked, he always brought up, was it Angelo French or whatever his running back's name was that would be like
Yes. Yes. I don't
37
remember
now
his
and
first name.
retired. It was
Definitely
so long
French.
ago. Um, so I think there's a lot of pressure there on himself because I don't think anybody expects him to win. So I'm gonna put it at like a 7, but it's all self-imposed.
Yeah, this kind of seems like we're going back to the old AFC North tradition before you had the Browns.
Yeah.
Um, one of NYT or Woods would sneak into the playoffs and just get smacked in the first round by the first wild card seed.
Yep.
Um, it kind of feels like we're seeing this all over again with this division. I'd put Noel at like a 2. I don't think really just about anybody has him favored. If I check the DW polls here, last I saw it, Monty was running away with that one. Let's see if I can find it in here. Yeah, we have 20 votes in favor of Monty and 9 in favor of Noel, and I would assume one of those 9 is Noel himself.
Yeah, that's
Um,
higher than I thought.
yeah, yeah, a little higher than I thought. But so I'm still gonna stick with my 2. I don't think the pressure is very high for Noel.
All right. Next up, D Muse.
Emu, same kind of thing here. I don't think it's very high. I was gonna put him kind of in the middle. He's not gonna get a great draw. Um, I think he can beat QB, but then that's likely gonna pair him up with me, where I don't think anybody expects him to win that one. Um, so I'll put him squarely at a 4.5.
Yeah, I think the pressure's kind of tailed off a lot. Um, used to be D Muse. Oh, he's the next one to get a Simbardi. And he was so close. He'd get to
Yeah.
the AFC Championship, never got it over the hump. And then it seems like this cycle, pre-blip, and now he's kind of just fallen back to where he's rarely even talked about. So I think the pressure also kind of dropped off with that.
Yeah, that Saints team is tough. You basically have to spend the first kind of 2 seasons sort of tearing them down. You can make a playoff run, but you're not built for a ton of success there. And the Cardinals are similar. You've got more pieces than the Saints do. You've got Kyler, you got Hopkins, you got Moore, you got some guys on defense, but they're not built in the important areas to really make a deep playoff run.
So
I
how
think
much?
that's what we're gonna see.
So how much do you think it matters then that Cardinals team QP took to a Super Bowl,
I
and
think it.
the Saints team is a 12-5 sitting right behind him, season 1 with
Yeah,
QB.
yeah, it's not as good a look, but I think it just kind of reinforces that Dom is close, but he's not quite there. He's just not QP. QP is in that very top echelon. He's proven. We know he's a winner. He won with the freaking Lions. I think it just kind of proves DMU's just a tad bit below them. If it's QP with the Cardinals, the pressure's higher. It's Dom with the Cardinals. We know we have to give him probably a little more time.
All right. Next up is Bean with the Jags.
Being with the Jags, man, I feel so bad. Um, you almost want to just put him in a 0 because you feel terrible for the guy. But eventually, we got to see him win a game here. We just got to see him win a playoff game. I'm gonna put him in an 8.
Yeah, I think it is high. You don't have to face Prime, or he had that one game against you.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think it's got to be at some point, if you can't win a single playoff game, as much as I like Meats being the folding chair, at some point you've got to be in the conversation if you're not winning a single one.
Yeah, dude, you just got to win one here.
Yeah, just one to keep yourself out of that area, but not a single one, especially with how many times he's been up going into the second half.
That's the worst part of it is it's not even like he's just coming in and he's outmatched. He's
Yeah.
winning like 90% of these games.
Yeah, these
and
are games
then,
you're up in, and you find a
Yep.
way to fold, which kind of fits right along with it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I think it's definitely high. I think of anyone in here, it's second highest for him.
Yeah.
And we'll get to who I think is the highest. But
Yep.
next up is the Eagles at the 3 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, Eagles 3 seed in the NFC. I'm gonna put you at a 7. Um, I know you've taught the team is very good. They're not quite Green Bay or Tampa or LA or Buffalo just yet. I think they're probably the best out of that top 5 for a full cycle
Oh yeah.
for season 1. I don't think they're the best. So like, I mean, I'm just looking. If you look at the quarterbacks, you're the one with Hurts. We're the ones with the ability. So I think you're at a 7 where it's high because your team is good and you are you're a Super Bowl winner. People are kind of itching to see you get back there. I don't think this is quite the season, so I'll have you at a 7, but you could probably argue me down to a 6.
Yeah, I think it's not as high because of the two teams above me, Green Bay and Tampa Bay, both. Um, I would argue equally stacked, but then at the quarterback position, that's where
Yeah.
there's the big advantage, which we've seen I think makes a big difference this year. So I think there's, as long as those two quarterbacks are there, and then not only those two quarterbacks there, but it's you and QP
Yeah.
with those two quarterbacks. So I think it's a little lower there, but as each season goes on, Philadelphia probably outside of maybe Buffalo is probably built the best for the cycle long. Because Green Bay and Tampa Bay, at some point, you guys are going to lose your quarterbacks, most likely. And then the Chargers have to basically get rid of everyone to keep Herbert. So
Right.
Buffalo, really the only other one that doesn't have too much that they're going to lose. So as the cycle goes on, it'll go higher, but I think right now it's not very high.
Yeah.
So that leaves, next up is Dan with the Bills, who I think he said he was going to win every game the rest of the cycle, and then lost
Yeah.
to Colt.
Yeah, he apologized to all of us for how many games he was going to win in a row, and then
Yeah.
he proceeded to like lose 2 in a row to Colt and Gutta, 2 non-playoff teams. So that was a swing and a miss on that one. But yeah, he's been kind of funny. He's talking about team for the fun of it with Matt, and you just aren't really afforded the luxury of team for the fun of it with Buffalo. You were set up to where you could be team for the fun of it if you wanted. You had your Simbardi. You could have come in and taken the Titans or some team that you wanted to build and they were bad and all the expectations would be whatever. It would be like, yeah, like, you know what? He got his title. He wants to have fun, build a team. No, you took Buffalo, dude.
Yeah.
Team for the fun of it doesn't exist when you take Josh Allen and Von Miller and Stephon Diggs. So I have a kind of a system for the next 4 teams here, and you're going to notice it in a second, but I'm going 9.5 with Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think his loss to Tiny in the primer playoffs pushes that number
Tough
even
go.
higher.
Yeah, tough go.
So I think it's definitely sitting right at like 9.5, because now you got to prove that was just a fluke. I
Right.
know Tiny came in with the Chiefs. I don't care if Tiny has the fucking Hall of Fame team with all 99s. You don't lose to Tiny. I don't think in 3+ years in the SML I've lost a single game to Tiny. Dan definitely
Yeah,
shouldn't
imagine
with
losing
the-
a Tiny.
I mean, and he has the Steelers. He has his team that he was just fine with.
Mhm.
No excuse, especially in the playoffs. I get it,
Yeah.
regular season. Maybe you take somebody a little lightly because it really doesn't matter. It's not one and done. But Tiny, come on.
Yeah.
All right, so next up is QP.
QP, and yeah, you're gonna notice the theme here. We got 9.5. Simply put, you're not QP taking the Bucks if you don't expect to win season 1. You got Tom Brady. You don't know if he's gonna make it next season. This is your shot. Got to win one with him now, just to assure it. 9.5 for the Bucks.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm already picking up what your common theme is for these top 4 teams.
Yep.
You took top teams with top quarterbacks. There's really nothing but an expectation of winning it all.
Yeah.
Just making the playoffs or the NFC or AFC championship shouldn't be enough when you're taking a top 4 or 5 team in the league. So I agree with that. All right, so then that brings us the number 1 seed in the AFC is Prime.
Yeah, I'm gonna nix you here just to stick with my theme. I'm gonna do the NFC first.
Okay.
which is me. And again, it is a 9.5. You don't take the Packers. You don't take Aaron Rodgers without an exception to win. Anything short of being in the Super Bowl is a massive disappointment. Not winning the Super Bowl in general is a disappointment. So 9.5, got to win.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Especially, I mean, get talked about as the best passer in the SML, and then get the best quarterback for 1 year in the SML.
Got to win.
Got to win, like you said.
Yep, got to win.
And then that leaves us with Prime as the final team.
The final team and the only 10. We have not even seen him make a Super Bowl yet this cycle. He talked about 19-0 in season 1. He talked about it again in season 2. Didn't get it either time. Lost to Matt the first go around. Lost to QB the second go around. So didn't even get a crack at another Fantastic Four or Big Five member. Prime's the only 10. You took Herbert. You took the Chargers. You got to win. And based on at least the rest of us have had the runs, quarterback QB has been to a title. I've been to a title. Dan has won a title. Got to get there, Prime. 10.
Yeah, I think you took the Chargers. It's a 10 the rest of the cycle. If you go a season without winning, too. Especially if you don't get there, it's impressive what he does with the Colts. He's a contender every year. But we've seen the last X amount of years with two seasons, those title numbers have really dried up and become a lot more sparse. I think Dan said on Total Access it was 8 full seasons now since he's won a Simbardi or maybe even been in one.
Yeah. So the last one he was in was the one that he beat me, and that was when I was in Florida. So this is a while ago.
Yeah. So it's probably a full cycle. So what does he do in the draft? He goes out and takes the best team there is, and that's just got to up the pressure for you. So we'll see what he does. But that's all the teams on our folding chair list. Anything else to add?
No, just that it is good to be back. I missed this show, that is for sure.
Yeah, excited to get it in. Excited to finally finish a season because we went all the way to I think week 13 before we blipped.
Yep.
The first blip we had was nice because it was in the off season. It kind of just felt like we just picked up. But blipping in week 13 is rough. So
yeah, that was a tough go.
So
not only that, I blipped. So I had a force win, then a bye week, and then we blipped.
Yeah, and a lot of people blipped in multiple leagues, so it wasn't even like you had anything else to do. It was just a complete blip out.
Yeah, dude, it was rough there for a little bit.
So good to be back. Good to be back in the SML Plus. We've already got, I think, every game scheduled for commentary.
Yep.
It did not take long. We just advanced yesterday, and we're going to be done tonight. So super quick advances. How this whole season has been. I think DW said like 1 month and was it even a month? No, it was 1 day and 14 hours average advance. We were like 30 days. So
yeah, we were flying
through it. You can tell everybody's excited to get back to playing after the blip, even if some of them don't want to admit it, and they talk about wanting to take as long as they can. They were involved in that 1 day and 14 hours. So thanks for watching, guys. Look forward to the playoffs starting here in about an hour and a half. And this has been Heat Check. Hopefully we'll have another one at the end of this season before another blip.
Yeah, hopefully it's not with all new teams.
Yep.